Good evening, everyone. My name is Sukriti, and I welcome you all to yet another edition of Community. As always, it's great to have you all on a lovely Sunday evening. So, last financial year saw many twists and turns post COVID. Yet, market and business remained as usual, and we had in yet another successful financial year. Thanks to all of you for it. So, we bring to you the first community event of financial year 2022. Community is a monthly event where all the partners connect. We take inspiration from achievement of our guest speaker every month. To begin with, let me call upon Mr. Aditya Agrawal, co-founder Wealthy.in, to update us on the year went by.
Hi, thanks, Sukriti. So, as you said, I think 2021 has been a very difficult year. At the same time, a year which saw a lot of changes in how all of us do things, and it was also a year which re-strengthened two things. One is that the role of an advisor, because as an advisor, it's been a volatile year. So, as an advisor, our job is not only to help clients take good actions, but at the same time also make them control their emotions and help them continue with whatever actions they've decided for their money. Right? So it's been a very important year as an advisor. I think second thing that it taught us as a year is that this virus is here to stay, and which means that all of us need to adapt ourselves. All of us need to adopt technology to be able to serve our clients and to be able to continue a business from wherever and whenever our clients want us to interact with them. So these are two important trends which will continue as we go along in the year financial year 2022. But at the same time, couple of things that I think will will sort of further will sort of do the trends that will continue help us both as advisors and something that we should remember. So one, I think, which is we sort of keep I reiterating every time, is that as a country we are in a cycle where our interest rates are going to continue to reduce. And when that happens, two things happen. One is that as individual savers or as individual households, we look for options that can give us better than bank FD returns. Right? So that, I think, will mean that all of us uh, will need to sort of upskill ourselves, reskill ourselves to be aware of all the options that are out there for a client to be able to grow their money in a way that is better than bank FD. So I think that trend will continue in the next. I think which something that Wealthy we sort of keep re-emphasizing is that every client is different. Every client is not same. So for some clients, while it may make sense to invest in equity even when markets are all-time high, and for some others it may not make sense to invest in equity even when the markets are at their lowest point, right? So I think that's the second point that all of us need to continue to work towards, that offer a client something that is right for them, not right for us, but right for them. And that trend is an evergreen trend. That trend is never going to change, right? And third thing, I think, of course, is adoption of technology. So both clients and as advisors, we need to continue to adopt technology. And I think as Wealthy, our role continues to remain to provide you the best in class technology platform to serve yourself and your clients. I am not saying that we are perfect,
ಕೃಪಾ
but
ಆ ಕಡೆ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ ನಂಗೆ ಡಿಸ್ಟರ್ಬ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ.
but it's something that we keep continuously as a team working towards to give you and your clients the right kind of experience, right? So yeah, so it's going to be. I'm glad to sort of share is that as a company and for us, as especially when I see some of our wealth partners, some of who are here today to collect the rewards for the month. But when I see some of our partners, like I remember some partners who started with us in the peak of Corona, and they started with us in the first month with zero income. But I see some of them making a lakh and a half, 2 lakh rupees by the time financial year ended in a single month. So that to me personally gave me a lot of I would say It's one of those things which gave me personally, when I look back at the financial year, a lot of satisfaction that okay, we did good, right? So that's the hope that in the next financial year we see many of you make your dreams come true, and more importantly, make your clients' dream come true. I think, as I keep saying every time, once again I reiterate that as wealthy, we will work in whatever is in our capacity to ensure that you get the right products, you get the right technology, and you get the right to give them the right experience. Right. So with that, I wish all of you the very best for a new financial year. I'm looking forward to this new financial year because I think this year is further is just going to be a further testament to the role that advisors continue to play in the financial well-being of an Indian household. And yeah, all the best to all of us.
So
Sukriti,
thank you,
back to you.
Aditya. We have with us today Mr. Nagendra, a mutual fund distributor from Shivamoga, a small town of Karnataka, to share his entrepreneurship experience with us. Mr. Nagendra comes from a humble middle-class background and started his career as an audit and accountant for mid and small-sized companies in Shivamoga. He stepped into mutual fund distribution at the age of 50, an age when most of people given up on life. He found his business opportunity in the small town where FD customers were struggling to get higher interest rates. He saw the need of people with agricultural income to look beyond LIC and bank FD as an investment avenue. He majorly caters to agriculture clients and doctors. He developed a simplified pitch to convince the customer and talk to them in their own language to make it simple and easy to understand. In just a matter of 10 years in the business, he has generated an AUM of 100 crore and created a history, a number which many of the surrounding 100 kilometers didn't even dream of. Without much ado, let me now invite Mr. Nagendra to enlighten us on his wonderful journey and motivate us to do more and help us understand how to overcome obstacles in our entrepreneurship journey. You may keep posting your questions on the chat box. We will pass it over and at the end of Mr. Nagendra to respond to you.
Hello.
Hi, sir. You are
Hello. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm really thankful to the organizers as well as the participant in this event to make me to my own presentation at this point of time. Right now, I'm 58 and I graduated in commerce in 1983 in a small town like Shivamoga in Karnataka. Basically, it is an agriculture oriented semi-urban city, and many of the investors or many of the residents who generated their revenue out of their living, looking upon only the conventional deposits destination like bank, post office, and the gold. And after my graduation, I pursued chartered accountancy for almost up till 1990 for almost 7 years. But for my own good reasons, I was not able to got through in that chartered accountancy as a profession. I failed to complete my chartered accountancy. Then I pursued my life in the profession of accountancy. My profession is just like an intermediary between the businessman and the chartered accountant to complete every obligation of businessman and to work on with all the financial parameters as advised by the chartered accountant to the businessman. So since all our clients are aligned towards right side of the law, naturally they have to be good in their business. Business will make them to prosper in their own social life, and they are to left with good amount of profit to allow for their future living life. So there comes the opportunity for an accountant to look beyond bank deposit and postal, which is a deterrent to their growth, as they are not that tax efficient. Coming to any other tax efficient mode of investments. Then, though I am an accountant for them for a good number of years, I am looking beyond just being an accountant, and I try to work on their financial wealth creation just by looking upon any other alternative that can make them their investment more efficient rather than just on bank deposits and postal deposits. There comes some good idea like government RBI tax-free bonds and tax efficient bonds during those days, something between 2005, 2006, 2007, something like that. And investors are very happy with that transformation bank deposits to other mode of investments with little edge over returns and tax efficiency. Then we moved upon even beyond RBI bonds, RBI tax-free bonds. Then we got into the arena of mutual fund participation. Initially, we were more towards an entry level of participation into mutual fund, that's like liquid fund, and we graduated ourselves towards ultra liquid, short duration funds, then into equities. It's a progressive participation from liquid to aggressive equities for almost 2 to 3 years advisory during 2009 to 2012. So then my investors also aligned to all these funds of mutual fund of many categories like liquid and short duration funds, and to equity and aggressive equities. They have been working on that since then, and each one is good with their comfort of participation into this since last 10 years. My advisory goes with investors looking upon their intention of investment, duration of investment, and their purpose for which they align every folio into their investment bracket. We find a lot of good things happen to our investors through their investment procedure. And we are able to get good returns out of their investment since last 10 years. Our focus is not just towards equity for higher returns. We are working more on all the needs, all the destination of investment opportunity that is available in mutual fund area. I being an accountant, I can better read their financial needs, financial figures of their balance sheet, and what a disciplined investor can generate through a systematic participation into mutual fund, and what he can get out of his participation. And each one of my investors are having a good experience during all through this time, and we naturally have some challenges during the period of our participation. Many times market is not that good for an investment, and results are not that encouraging during that patchy times. But I pursued my investor to please stay in the fund participation for better returns. Particularly between 2009 to 2011, and 2017, 2018 to 19, those 2 years were very challenging for any advisor or as well as the investor to continue their investment structure. And somehow I got them enrolled to continue their participation, and with their committed structure of participation, now their figures are something great, and they are enjoying their results out of their participation. Particularly, last year was very challenging for us, and COVID has impacted our social life, financial life, profession to certain extent. And looking upon what that has impacted us and experience, and beyond that, I was working with my investors and handhold them to the level of extreme experience. Many of them were thought of moving away from mutual fund to bank deposit, and I enrolled them what is the cost for them to work on in bank deposit against inflation. And they were enrolled, they keep participated in this. And in fact, COVID period between May to September, majority of my investors had their return almost one time of their investment during that period. At this point of time, our aim is 102 crores, 102 crores. It's a blend of equity and debt and liquids. Equity is to the extent of 65%, save something around between 67 to 70 crores. And the rest is into non-equities like liquid, debt, and other products. I consider mutual fund is an extraordinary place to part with our surplus for better returns and focusing more on our goal of investment. And as soon as we get into that, we have to experience better return compared to any other bank deposits and postal or gold. This being my first presentation to anyone and everyone, my flow is not to that level of reaching out to everyone. If I can come with any specific query or a question, it would help me to work on that query, and I can make my presentation still better. Mr. Sawant, would you please take me further level of...
Thank you very much. I do understand, and unfortunately, we gave you a very little notice for you to come and talk to us. But then it was quite meaningful and healthy conversation as far as I see it, because I saw quite a lot of input already from me as well. Then, of course, I've known you for a long time, so maybe the differentiation is that since I've already known you, probably I could absorb much better. Thanks a lot. That was great inputs overall. We do have some questions already for you. I will take up some of them one by one. The first question is coming from Santosh Raja. He's asking, how many clients do you manage, sir? Approximately how many clients that you manage?
Okay. By PAN count for the day is 518. But many PANs are aligned to family members, and head of the family is to make a investment decision on behalf of family members. If I go with that decision makers count, it would be any figure between 60 to 80.
Okay. 60 to 80 families across 500 PAN numbers. So that basically means that you have not left any family member out. You ensure that every family member participates in the growth story. That's, I think, is a good take home for all of us. Yeah. Thank you. So I
Yes,
have
yes.
a
And
second question. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yes,
Go on, sir.
one more good thing that's happening to my profession is I always make the spouse sit together to listen to me. And I am listening them every aspect of both husband and wife towards their finance, their goals, and reaching out their aspiration to complete through mutual fund. Decision is not just the one who heads the family like husband. Even wife is also taking part in the discussion. She will come out with her understanding and her concern of family wealth creation. So it will be more, decisions will be more validated by all the three, two investor participants and me as an advisor.
Sure.
We will take the decision to its logical end. Up till such time, they don't deter decisions. My comfort of working with both husband and wife is one of the reasons for me to reach this 100 crores.
Excellent. Okay. I have, yes, sir. Okay, I'll take up the next question, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So Priya is asking, what equity participation do you recommend to investor on what basis? How much percentage do you suggest people to get into equities? How much do you suggest them to go into liquid or debt? And how do you determine that is what Priya's question is.
Okay. For this query, I have a structured advisory to my investors. One is all decisions are to be based on their age, their priority, and their goal of their participation. If the investor is at the age between 28 and 30, and understanding their goal of participation, whether their alignment of investment towards children education, home, house and retirement. So everything comes in their life somewhere between their age between 35 to 50. Children education comes, if one is at the age of 25 and 30, his first priority should get aligned at his age of 35. That's his children education, pursuing higher professional course for their children. And next comes at his age of 40 or 45. That's house construction, investment on housing, and the other priority would be naturally is once retirement. That's between 55 to 60. So all his available savings will be aligned towards these three categories of his obligation. One at his age of 35, and around age of 45, and at his age of 60. If my investor is at the age of 30, I align one's participation for 10 years, 15 years, and 25 years. If it is into SIPs. And I have a practice that I seldom fill up a SIP of less than 20 years of participation. All my SIPs are for 20 years and above age of a year of participation. And one of the oldest SIP for the day is almost 8 years, started somewhere in 2012. Today, even at distress time during COVID, its returns were good at somewhere around 15 to 18%. Today, it is almost 23 to 24% of investment and returns. And disciplined participation will always make the investor good of their investment.
Excellent, sir.
So for the other one, for the other one who are at mid 40s and mid 50s, alignment towards for one who is at 40, between 40 and 50, our advice is for them to go for almost 70% into equities and 30% into debt. In equities, almost 75% into aggressive equities and 30% into the conventional conservative equities like large and other. Aggressive equity to me is almost always between mid and small cap. They are the one who create wealth. The large cap is always a conservative return participant in our wealth creation. And for those who are above 50, we align 50% into equities and 50% into debt. For above 60, 25% into debt and 75% into 25% into equity and 75% into debt. For above 70, it's always the debt. So as we progress as our investors progressing in the age, their alignment towards equity is gradually reduced, and decent return is expected even through participation into debt products, something like corporate bonds, credit risk bonds, medium term duration bonds, something like they are to offer them a decent return between. My experience goes with the returns are always between 1.5% above their bank deposit interest. Since participation into mutual fund is always tax efficient, majority of their savings is out of their tax efficiency rather than bank interest, compared to a bank interest. So in that way, the senior citizens who are above 60, they are to be benefited out of their participation into debt funds aligned with tax efficiency. This being majority of my investors in the tax bracket between 30 and 42%. So tax efficiency means a lot for them through their participation into mutual fund. Just very recently, one of my investors completed their participation into medium-term fund in one of the AMC's product. Still, the returns are somewhere between 9.5 to 10%. And
this is a medium duration fund, sir.
Medium duration fund.
Okay.
Today, for even at the age of around 65, they being senior citizens, bankers are to offer them just between 5.5 to 5.6%. The difference between 5.6 and 9.45 precisely, that is the advantage enjoyed my investor during his stay in the fund.
Yes.
These are the categories of in funds that is as advised to investors of various ages.
Thank you, sir. I think we have quite a lot of questions to cover for the day. Okay. Mr. Bharat Bhushan Datta wants to talk to you directly. Mr. Bharat sir, you have been unmuted. Wanted to ask something? Bharatji?
Yes, sure.
Yes, sir.
Sir, I just want to know, I'm very new to this industry, especially mutual fund. So what I would like to know,
Okay.
What are the guidelines or what are the advice you'll for me especially how to build a good AUM and what are the main points to be looked for?
Okay. As an advisor, our priority should be aligned to the best we can offer to our investors. At no point of time, the investors are to look beyond us for their advisory. That should be our level of handholding with our investors. And we have to prioritize the purpose of investment. If one comes with an age of around 30, 35 and then progressively, as I just now said to Mr. Sawant, we have to align our all our dedication should be, we have to see that at no point of time they are not to be penalized or taxed for their decision in participating into mutual fund. In fact, mutual fund is a wonderful product for anyone to pursue their wealth creation. I have been in this industry for almost 10 years, and I see a lot of good things happening to my investor all through these days. Of course, market is we can consider in participation and taking return out of our investment is one logical thing. But for wealth creation, first we should understand we are living in a great country like India. And at this point of time, whole of the world is looking upon India as a prospective destination for them to get their progressive valuation by participating into Indian economy. Economy really generate returns for our participation. Consider always we are to we with economical understanding, what we are to work on is basically all mutual fund industry advisor advise us looking upon a return between 9 and 10%. What it means is the notion GDP of the day and the inflation is the notional GDP. Any investment is to be incremented in line with the notional GDP. If you are to work on average notional GDP of India for 35 years, it is something somewhere between 11.5% to 12.5%. So any investment into a structured economical participation, something like investment into capital market, aggressive equities, or equity with conservative approach, the natural return would be anything between 9 and 11%. So that is guided by the notional GDP for almost 35 years. So always for bankers, the rate of interest they are to offer is always it is against. There is one definition for interest is not a source of income. It is always buffer against inflation. I mean to understand this definition is bankers are always offer us an interest that either matches the inflation or very near to inflation rate. Interest rates are always very near to inflation rate. If you are to pursue only the bank deposit for wealth creation, we never overreach the inflationary value of our investment. Any good investment should create a wealth, get its percentage of growth, minimum 2% above the inflation. If you are to consider that as the one for investment, naturally, my sense goes with the capital market. No, a good fund manager or good environment of our participation will definitely take the valuation or the incremental above notional GDP. Many a time the advisors ignore to understand or ignore to interpret the inflation to the investor. If we better understand the impact of inflation on return on investment, our whole process of advisory to investor definitely take a next level of our advisory or understanding. We should always watch the impact of inflation on the return. If any product is offering us a return of around 8%, if inflation is at around 5.5% or 5%, the real income is hardly 3%, it is not 8 or 9%. The purchasing power of a product or an investment will not reach up by 8%. It is only 3%. Collective return above inflation, say even at 3% for almost 20-25 years. That creates a wealth in crores. Recently, for one of my investors who come with a query, what would be my valuation if my participation for next 25-30 years in SIP? I dig down the data in one of the fund that is as old as 25 years. And if one were to be participated since 1995 to almost February 2021, that fund, the process of participation would complete 306 months, almost 26.5 years. I pulled down the data on the very basics, very actuals in Navy since 26 years. I am surprised to see the figures. Judiciously, one is to participate 10,000 rupees since 1995 to till date. One's participation is hardly around 30,60,000 rupees. That day's 10 rupee, the face value of 10 rupee on 1995, today is good at 1,587. The investment is incremented by almost 158 times in 27 years. His once investment of 30,60,000, today its value is around 10 crores, 2 lakhs. I watch every word of mine. I have the documented data with me. I think anyone can reach out to me and I will share that data to one. This is India. Forget about which fund, which company, it is immaterial to any advisor or the investor. What India is at this point, since last 25 years, India has opened up the world through FII's participation and many other economical transformation happened since 1991 to till date. That has created wealth to the investor to that level, almost 157 times in 26 years. I think capital market is the only place one can expect such a return. I don't know much about real estate and its impact and its returns. I am ignorant into that. Wherever I have a reach of information, I dig down all this, and I am working with that figure. I prepare a concise statement, just of 2 pages. I keep working on those 2 pages. I'm getting lot of information, lot of investment, and all my investors are looking upon for next 25 years to create their wealth. And India at this point of time, we for every other country in Europe and other part of the world, Western world, what is their concern is their aged population. For everything, they have to depend upon depending towards working population in the Asian countries. We being English, we are hardworking and we are imaginary, very extreme level. We are at the sweet spot of getting lot good opportunity for employment, for youth utility and everything. And that will transform the situation that is very attractive for anyone to participate in India. And every other data all through these one for 15 days is very encouraging for anyone to look upon India as a place for participation. Government says, RBI says GDP for 22-23 is 9.5%. Government says 10.5%. World Bank, it is 11.5%. For IMF, it is 12.5%. So even at the bottom GDP level, RBI conservative level at 9.5%, nowhere in the world other than China have a place for any company or any investor to look beyond India and China. At this point of time, China has its own limitation to attract a lot of foreign funds. We Indians, we left with English as a communicable language, and we are good in English, we are hardworking. India is on demand in all through everyone, every country in the world.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that input. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you because I thought I'll take it. But then one good thing that has happened, thank you, Bharatji, for that lovely question. One good thing that has happened is in answering one question, you have answered many questions of many other people. Milind, I think you got your answer. You were asking, how do you suggest, what do you suggest to the people, investors who are in the age group of 30 to 35? Nagendra sir already answered this while answering the other question. Then I have one question which probably I'll pick up, sir. Sorry, how much is the fund management charges charges for any mutual fund by Wealthy? Your name is not there; it's an anonymous question. So basically, Wealthy does not charge anything to the fund management charges. Zero charges is what we don't charge you. I guess you are a new partner to that, so we don't charge you anything. Every fund has normally they have their own fund management charges, which will be applicable to the same, which is same throughout wherever the client is buying it from. It doesn't matter. It's the same. Okay. Sure. Next, I have quite a lot of questions. Okay, there's one question which actually you just answered, sir Nagendra sir. This is like, how do you decide which is the best fund to select and what parameters do you consider? Sir, to answer this question, Wealthy is already given you a ready basket of products. You don't have to worry about researching it again, working about all the paperwork, everything. You don't have to do all the paperwork again. It's already there. Just pick it up. And I'll just go back to Nagendra sir's answer to Mr. Bharat. Wonderful take home from there is just like simple. What he does is very simple. I've been a personal witness to the 2-page material that he has done so that he can talk to people out there. And it's so simplified and so beautifully put in that if somebody had to put 10,000 rupees over 30 years of participation that is happening, kind of wealth that got created 158 times and that itself becoming that big. I think that's a great, and the fund that he was referring to is not a great performing fund. It's one of the probably sub-mediocre fund in that category. And imagine if you manage to do a little bit of an alpha creation with a slightly better fund over there. So that's for you. You don't have to worry about picking up the right fund across of which fund that you need to pick. And thank you, Nagendra sir, for actually covering up this as well. I have one more question from Priya. How do you convince a FD oriented or a fixed oriented base to participate into participate into FD or participate into mutual funds and into equity, participate in equity, both of them? I'll repeat that question. Sorry, I jumbled up. How do you convince an FD oriented fixed income base to participate in equity? That's the question. Nagendra sir.
Yes, it is very easy to enroll the one who is already a deposit holder, because what is his ignorance is the tax efficiency. So it's a very interesting question, sir. I'm really glad to answer this question. So bank deposit is in such a structure that every year one used to get credit interest element into his bank deposit account, irrespective of he getting it back to his bank account or at his purse. So every incremental interest getting into his bank deposit as interest paid or credited, that will be taxed for that year. Consider one has an FD of around 1 crore. At this point of time, the rate of interest is hardly around 5.5%. So on turn of 1 year, 366th day, his FD will be added with 5,40,000 rupees as interest component. It is nothing to do with whether he is withdrawing that 5,40,000 rupees or not. That will add to his deposit. In income tax, whatever the interest earned or credited to one's account is subject to taxation for the year. Despite he don't withdraw anything out of the bank account, consider he is at 30% tax bracket. His tax cost of one entry by the bankers from interest to deposit will tax him 30% of 5,40,000 rupees. Precisely, it is almost 1,70,000 rupees. He has to pot just for an entry in the books of accounts. But in case of mutual fund, consider only the rate of return is hardly around 5.4%. His valuation through incremental NAV will set the valuation of his investment at 5,40,000 rupees. Sorry, 1 crore 5,40,000. But since that is not redeemed during that period, he will not be taxed. Usually, my experience with all investors in deposit, term deposit, aligned towards mutual fund is just this. There is no, and many times there is no purpose for them to go for bank deposit. It keep renewing every year. If in all these renewal period, bank deposit will tax them to the extent of 30%. But in mutual fund in debt, if one completes 3 years of participation, anything taken out after 1095th day, the completion of 3 years, the investment will be indexed. Basically, what indexation means is, government is not expecting us to pay tax on the inflationary impact of our investment. Just see, almost, see my rate of return is almost 5.5%. If the inflation is at 4%. So first 4% will be tax efficient. That is tax efficiency. An investor will be asked to pay only the taxation, that too at 20% flat on the incremental return over inflation. Am I to make it again?
was a good, sir. Well understood, I think. Thank you.
Yes. So
Yeah.
interest the income tax is paid only on the real income, not on the
Yes.
inflationary impacted
Yes.
income.
Which creates a big differential between the tax advantage that
Yes.
an investor comes. And then
Yes.
obviously for a investor is
Yes. Yes.
okay.
I come with the- We will get no impact of tax efficiency. Very recently, one of my investments of around 4 crores was taken out on completion of 3 years with an incremental value of around 1 crore 96 lakhs. Sorry, 1 crore 12 lakhs. That investor is at 39% tax bracket. If she were to pay interest on that increment value of 1 crore 12 lakhs, the taxation would be around something 43 lakhs. On indexation, this 1 crore 12 lakhs, the taxation was hardly around 12 lakhs. The differential between 42 lakhs and 12 lakhs is the tax efficiency. It
Absolutely,
makes a
sir.
lot of sense to save 30 lakhs out of tax structure.
Huge saving, huge saving. Great, sir. I have one. Yeah. Sorry, sir, I'm cutting you off because we have shortage of time and quite a lot of people want to answers from you. I have one linked question from multiple people. Kumar Maitre is asking, did you do any kind of marketing activities or is it just been word of mouth? The first question. And similarly, so I have Paramjeet who's asking 1 minute, how do you get clients? And then I also have one more question on the similar nature by Mansi, who's saying, how do you get good clients, sir? These are, I think, 5 of you have asked the same question. So I think only one differential is Kumar Maitra is asking, did you do any kind of marketing activity or is it word of mouth? And the rest of them are asking, how did you get good clients?
I don't do any marketing. For a professional marketing is not a necessity to promote himself. It is his ethical values, integrity towards the profession and the investors' interest. It counts a lot, and it's always above any marketing. I don't do any marketing. So all good things happening out of our advisory is getting good input from my mentors. I have a very good structure. I align to one mentor in one aim. So for every query, whether it is ignorant or silly, I will reach out to them. I will get their input. That will refine my decision towards my investment advisory. In all AMCs I am aligned to, I consider one gentleman in the AMC as my guru. And I trained him in such a way that he will have a lot of patience when I come out with query. Many times calls run for almost 1 hour, 1.5 hours, and until both of us are enrolled that queries complete to that extent, to certain extent, we will not disconnect. And blend of all good things for one query to all AMC gentlemen. I will blend all discussion into one basket. I will take out the best out of all understanding. I will reach out to my investor. I will get the best result.
Thank you, sir.
So
I have one more question.
Without guru, without guri means
Yeah.
I have to have a mentor, I have to have an investor, and that process is complete. It's always a win-win situation for everyone.
Yeah, so I think I get the answer. Basically, you have not done any kind of marketing. It's just been your few set of customers who have been very happy with you, and you have taken care of them end to end by taking relevant information and things from your RMs, and then you ensured that your customer needs are met. So I'm just summarizing that answer again. Okay, so I have one question. I don't know the name here. It says Realme. And there's one more question, the same thing by Abhijit. It says that, today SIP earnings is very, very low. And Realme is asking the same thing, that what is the earning on percentage of SIP? Would you be really happy taking small income from SIPs?
Yes, SIP is good for every advisor. Have a decent bracket of investment to SIPs. Yes, at the early stage, it's always peanut for everyone to accept that as revenue for his participation to that process. In the longer term, that will be major contributor to your income. Today, my total SIP size, it's a blend of liquid and equity, is around 1 crore 25 lakhs. Almost 70 lakhs into liquid, and the rest is for equities. So 1 crore 25 lakhs every day, every month will take my AUM to 15 crores for 12 months. It's a passive journey through SIPs. I don't need to work too much on this 15 crores to add to my AUM. It is the discipline. Out of 15 crores, say around 5 or 6 crores will have an exit with a purpose. I end up with adding almost 8 to 9 crores every year to my AUM through SIP.
Yes, I think one-time effort and lifetime of AUM creation is the solution there.
Yes.
So, next question. Sorry, I'm interrupting you there, but we got the answer. I'm just interrupting. So, I have too many questions. 1 second, sorry, sir. Simranjeet is asking how much part of your AUM is in debt and how much is in equities. So, I think you had already answered this, but yeah.
Okay. Yes, at this point of time, 68 crores into equity, and that's almost now it is above 65% into equity, and usually my blend is around 60% into equity and 40% into debt. Yes, there is a good incremental value in my equation. So that takes the valuation to 68. It is not the direct participation. Advantage of market valuation. Market valuation take the value, take the percentage to that level.
One second. Sorry, I'll take up some more questions here, which are, I know too many of them are there. Some of them I am not even, some of them are repeat ones. So how do you, okay, dear sir, you are in their age of 20. How can the best fund for him to become a millionaire? Okay, what he's asking is, if someone is at age 20, what would you suggest for him to become a millionaire?
Billionaire.
Yeah.
So what is the target corpus one is expected?
So he's referring to, like, say 1 crore is what he's referring to for a 20-year-old guy. So that's
okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I have structured a SIP for my own my son. At that point of he was at that point of time was already 192. He started participating 5,000 rupees a day, 5,000 rupees a month, and my conviction at age of his 42nd year, his signature value would be not less than 1 crore 80 lakhs.
That's the beauty of it. Yeah, I think once we align ourselves to the goal, automatically it will get created.
Yes. So, okay. 12 lakhs during his 20 years of participation. One is to participate. One is to take out 12 lakhs in total from his bank account to investment. That 12 lakhs will take the valuation to almost 1 crore. For my working of preceding 20 years is 2 crore 20 lakhs. And the very beauty is, at the age of 15th year of completion of investment, the valuation for 9 lakhs is hardly around 78 lakhs. For next 5 years participation with 3 lakhs of additional investment into his folio, the value is something around 2 crore 10 lakhs. Last 5 is very, very critical for any investor to stay in the fund. There, we have to manage their emotions rather than investment.
Yes.
I think I mean my word.
Yes, sir, definitely.
Am I with you all?
Yes, absolutely.
Am I with you all?
Absolutely. I think
Last
answering on that,
15
yeah.
last-
Yeah.
First 15 years is a journey. First 5 years is a painful journey for any investor to validate his decision of participating into SIP. They don't get their investment as the valuation. If 6 lakhs is the investment, valuation is always below 6 lakhs. But what we should focus on, the cumulative units that we align on our investment. Up till 15 years, the figures are not that great. From 15th to 20th year, we will make a very good thing happening to our investment. Last 5 years is very, very critical. Very, very critical. One should be very, very cool during those time to see his figures set around 2 crores.
Yeah. So the 16th to 20th year does the magic for the 20 years of.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay. Thanks. I have an interesting question from Nisha, who's asking, how do you motivate yourself in the initial years when the commissions are very low?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I basically, being an accountant, my bread earner is my core profession, accounting. This is my passion. It doesn't mean that I ignore the revenue out of it. I always pursue for better revenues with AMCs. But passion will take us to the very next, very level of our satisfaction. So revenue is a byproduct of our good advice, byproduct of what investor experience as the best investment that they work on. So that's the way. Yes, as we progress, first 10 crores, my journey of 100 crores is a very interesting story. For anyone to start at this point of time, and let me watch my word to them. First 10 crores of AUM took almost 4 years of my advisory. 20 crores happened in next 2.5 years. Say by 6.5 years, my AUM was hardly around 20 crores. 20 to 40 happened in 18 months. 40 to 70 in 9 months. 70 to 102 is hardly around 7 months. So one need to be very patient during very early days of one's advisory. It is very difficult to reach our figures at 20 crores. On 20 crores, we have our comfort level or our confidence level will be at the highest. We will be more matured the time we are in 5 years of our advisory. Then we have to experience all good and not good things happening during those periods. We will moderate ourselves in our advisory. We will take only the right decision, right approach towards investment to our investors. With that refined understanding of the product and the situation, all our investments are always good to our investors. So from 20 to 102 crores took me hardly around 2.5 years. or 3 years. It is for everyone to experience this. I am not an extraordinary performer.
So that's your humbleness, but yes, but the lesson is very clear that first 20 crore is challenging. I think whatever the math is, if my target has to be reached, the first 20% of that is going to take me 80% of the time frame, and the rest happens in very few. Okay, the same Pareto principle of 80-20. I think great. Thank you. So I quite 22 odd questions. I don't know how many we can cover because we've already crossed one. We still have prize winners to be announced. There is one question from Pranav. I don't think you will answer this, but I'm still posting it. It says, what would be your yearly earnings with this kind of huge AUM? Is it possible? Can you share it? Sir, I leave that to you. You can choose not to answer also.
Yes, yes. I'm a sincere taxpayer. I don't mind spelling out what my revenue is. If that can motivate anyone to look beyond their limitations in advisory, definitely I will share that. Just yesterday, I tabulated my revenue for the month of March. Gross of GST. So since I being in Shumaga, I enjoy that B30 advantage and everything. My gross of GST, say industry passed on everything to us as taxation. Gross of GST is 8,76,000 rupees. Net of GST is, say, take out 1,32,000, 1,33,000, precisely 133 is my GST cost for March. If I take out of 876, the rest is the actual revenue for my advisory for the month of March. For an AUM.
Thank you for sharing it. Thank you. I didn't expect you to share this, but I think it's truly motivating. I mean, for many people, it is an annual package for many people. So anyway, thank you very much for sharing. Let me. So there are quite a lot of questions, sir, but I would have loved to take all of them. I don't know if, but some of them are directly what are actually indicated to what can be answered at WellBe, not at your level. So I don't know. There's one question here. I don't know what is your view on dynamic asset allocation funds? Lalit Pale is asking. Would you like to answer that, sir, or?
I'm not getting the question.
Dynamic asset. So basically, a lot of fund houses do this dynamic asset allocation funds as in debt equity combination, which is slightly beyond hybrid. They do. I'm aware that you don't do those kind of funds. So since and actually, WellBe also we don't recommend any of those kind of funds. He's still asking if you have a view on that.
Yes, basically all my portfolios are aligned to one or the other purpose of one's investment. Investors' goal. So always it is 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years in above. So for the time frame and risk appetite of an investor will make me a choice of fund for him or her. So asset allocation is not my pick at this point of time. I align a fund for 20 years to one gentleman and I not disturb it.
Yeah.
Asset allocation, am I to understand that it is a portion of it is into debt, there's something like that?
Yes, correct. Some part of it debt, gold. So there's a combination automated product that happens where. Fair enough, sir. Thank you. And I have something very interesting, but you have already answered this, but I'll still read out the question. Abhishek is saying, I am currently into sales. I have developed a huge interest for mutual fund investment advisory and have joined this. So please guide me how to start my journey so that I achieve my goal of creating a client base and creating a recurring source of income. I am 28 years old. So, and last line actually made me read out the question. Abhishek, I hope you have already got the answers from different questions that have been already posted to Nagendra sir. So it's lovely to see all of you who are youngsters who are just out of college and just out of fresh at 28 years of career, starting this, in joining this industry and working towards that goal. Lovely. All the best. We are there. We'll work together and we'll ensure that your goals are met. Okay, I have Purushottam who's asking guidance for MFD. I think
I have to contribute something to Mr. Abhishek.
yes, sir. Please, please, please.
Can I?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Abhishek, India for next 25 years is something extraordinary. Now I am repenting that I am 60 at this point of time. I may not enjoy whole of next 25 years of India's growth. For you at the age of 25, 28, 30, 30, 35, you are the one experience the growth, real growth of India for next 25 years. India will be one among first three economically strong nation by the turn of 2034, as we get the data from IMF. China, India, America, either of the three will be one in first, second, and third. 2034, that's the set date. For next 25 years, whatever you pursue with your heart and consider the ethical values and focus on investors' interest alone is the for prospering our advisory. For next 25 years, your figures from today, I don't see your
So yeah, we lost you in between, sir, but I think
hello. Am I
yes,
to
sir.
make it again? Am I to make it?
No, I think I got it. There was a little bit of a network issue, but I think that's. Would love to summarize your thing. That's the best thing, best advice that you can give to all the people. Actually, not just the 20-year-olds, but as well to the everyone. That India is a great opportunity in making, and
Yes.
it's for us to capitalize upon it, to work with that, and keep growing with that. I think with that, I would love to thank you, Nagendra sir, and all the participants. I know many questions are, some of them are unanswered. We will come back to you. Those questions are already noted. Your relationship manager, whoever is associated with you, will shoot out those answers back to them. We'll probably ask Nagendra sir also, if at all, to answer some of this and move, respond back to you through at least message, mail, whatever format. And we'll respond back to all of you. Thank you very much, Nagendra sir. It's great enlightenment and a lot of learnings. Though this is longer than the regular sessions that we have at community, but it's been, every word has been insightful. I always love talking to you, and it's always been a great inspiration, as well as so much of new thoughts, new processes, new ideas to work with and to grow. And I think the biggest one is probably you have stood tall, you have shown us the way and the path to say that it's possible to do something like 100 crore from a small town in Karnataka, where not many people even desired or dreamed of wished of 100 crores in that place. I think that's an opportunity. You mean every word what you're saying, because you've proven it yourself. Thank you very much for your time, sir. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Sukriti, over to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the opportunity.
Pleasure, sir. Pleasure.
Amazing, insightful session, sir. Thank you so much, Nagendra sir. So
Thank
now,
you, madam.
guys, yeah, it's a time for our ritual, and the monthly ritual which we have. Now we will have the announcement of the prize winners. Please applaud and encourage the winners in the chat box, or if you want to unmute yourself, you can unmute and you can applaud for them. I request Savan sir to please show me the presentation of that.
It's on.
1 second. I think.
Sukriti, is there
I
a difficulty
can't.
on this slide? Okay, fair enough. Let me make that, if you
Yeah,
are not
please.
able to see the screen,
No.
let me make that announcements. First of all, congratulations to all of you beforehand. Yeah, and I think already see so many people already congratulating on the chat box. The first one we have is, one second, is for the life insurance topper who have won JBL Infinity, the sound bar, which is Krishna Patak from Bangalore and Vishal Dedia from Mumbai. Congratulations, both of you. The second one is the health insurance topper, which is Priya Krishnamurthy. I should mention two lines about Priya out here. She was so focused, she was so determined. She ensured that she will get into that space and she will win that particular thing. And day one, she focused on this. She said, okay, yes, this is the one which I want to take home. And she started working towards it till the last day. She didn't leave it on, literally on 31st of March. She logged in her last application. And then we ensured that the policy gets issued. Everything. I should really appreciate. I keep appreciating Priya for all of this, but I think that's something. Priya, are you there? I don't know if Priya is there. If you can.
It was there, but
Fair enough, not a problem. Sure, good. So that's Priya. Then we had for the sixth contestant winners, which is Saurav Dandapat from Bhubaneswar and Simranjit from Surat. Simranjit, I think you are here. Simranjit, can you unmute yourself? Or 1 minute. Simranjit, can you just raise your hand, please, if you are there? Yeah, please, I've allowed you to unmute. You can probably say, because it's your first prize winning. I know it. So you've been a new joiner. So please, you can unmute yourself and say something if you wish to. Yes, sir, you're audible. Okay, fair enough. Some technical issues. Then let me move forward. And the next prize winners are health insurance things, which is the essential headphone, which is taken by, Chiranjini Sahu from Bangalore. Okay. The next one is earless buds for chip activation numbers, which is by Leena of Kochi, Dronanamaraju Krishna from Durg, and Milind Arora from Bangalore. Okay, Milind is here, I guess. Milind, would you like to say something? Raise your hand if you wish to. Okay, the last but not the least one is all the activation prize winners. I'll not read out. I'll probably just run through the main ones. Narendra Sinha, Kiran Jain, Vishnu Chatwardhan, Sukhil Bhatte, Gaurav Sharma, Saurabh Patil, Manish Kumar, Asgiri Narayanan, Akhilesh Sharma, then Chandrasekhar Madhu, Sandeep Chaudhary, Ritesh Gupta, Hiren Patel, Shiven Singh, Nitin Tulsian, Pooja Rathore, Vivatsa BS, Viraj Raje, Kavya Prabhu, Pranav Kulkarni, Pranav Ziar, yes, Mansundi Raj, Santosh. Okay, hi, thank you. Congratulations to all of you on having one activation gift. It's your great start. The first start activation is normally a encouragement gift that we give for people who join in first month, and as an active part of being an activation first business that they do just after the first month of joining. That's a gift for them. Congratulations to all the winners. Your gifts will reach out to you soon. Somebody will reach you for your addresses and they'll reach on to all of you. Congratulations to all of you. Over to you, Sukriti. Back again.
so I think, yeah, it was although it was a lengthier session than always, but yeah, it was very insightful. I would wish to thank Nagendra sir once again. And thank you all of you for spending your Sunday afternoon, evening with us. Hope it was an hour well spent and you all found it motivating to achieve more on business. Congratulations to all the prize winners. Wishing you all good luck for the April contest. Hoping to see many more prize winners this month. Once again, wishing you all a great month and a new financial year ahead. Keep creating wealth. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, all of you. Have a lovely weekend and a great weekend.